So what are these rights that we're talking about? So equal opportunity rights and non-discrimination policy, these both are very, I would say, intertwined. So equal opportunities is about how everybody deserves equal opportunity, any disability, and this extends beyond disability as well. We are talking about people from other diverse identity groups also that needs to, get that equal opportunity. But this law, since it specifically talks about disability, it talks about how opportunities need to be completely unbiased. And then another important thing is after you include them, it's important that the workplace is ready to include them and also create that healthy atmosphere. We cannot have stereotypes or microaggressions or unconscious biases or any discriminatory practices coming in the way to hamper that sustainability part of it. And then we have accessibility. And when we talk about accessibility, we are talking, again, like I said, we are talking about infrastructure, digital, we are talking about, having some very, I would say, hygienic accessibility features like having braille or having the right signages and having ramps for people with mobility disability. And also that helps beyond the disability as well, right? And yes, right to employment is another important piece of this. But apart from this, talking about the employment part of it, the most crucial one is the reasonable accommodation. In fact, in our research, we realized that 40% of the organizations after hiring, they still are struggling with the problem of retaining the workforce because they do not have the right reasonable accommodations in place. Because what happens is when you set the context clearly of reasonable accommodation, the organization knows what to expect from the person, and the job seeker or the person who's coming knows what the organization needs as well. It kind of makes it more professional because your KRAs are going to be based on that, your accommodations and your compensation, everything is going to be based on that. And that makes it very, I would say, it makes the organization look at the person as a productive asset rather than them doing out of tokenism. So it kind of moves that charity mindset out of table once we go into that. Can we have the next slide, please? Right. But what is the solution or what is the starting point of all of this? Like I'm talking about, making our organizations compliant or making, I would say infrastructure and all of it accessible. But the most important thing is it's about the mind share accessibility. And that can come only when the workforce are sensitized and the awareness is created. This is the most crucial part. And I think Rashi had also in a previous session emphasized on that because that's really, really powerful. Unless and until somebody is able to step into the other person's shoe and understand what it is to be them, it's very, very difficult. And organizations need to take that I would say, step to make it happen at every stage possible. But when I say sensitization, I know we are talking about it from a corporate landscape over here, but it has to start at various levels and also at various stages of life. In fact, what we realized is it should start from schools and colleges, in fact. Only when a college student or a school student, when they start growing up and when they start learning about the need for, respecting individuals from diverse identity groups or being empathetic towards them or being very sensitive towards them, that's when they come into the workforce, they're going to be a better citizen or they're going to be a better ally for them. And they will know that this empathetic behavior or whatever that we discussed in the previous sessions, whether it's about rights or accessibility, they will realize or they will come with the mindset that it's basic hygiene and not a policy that they need to complain with. Yeah, and very, or I would say very more correlating is when we also studied, what it is for, the larger landscape. The UN SDG 2030 goal also is emphasizing that PWD sector has to be integrated with all of their 17 goals. And that comes from a very, very pure idea of uplifting everybody from poverty and ensuring that everybody is moving forward along with us. So I think this is going to become a global phenomenon very soon. It is already in the process, but a lot of importance is already coming in. Can I have the next slide, please? So, yeah. This is, okay, now we talked about inclusion, we talked about, what it is that, we can do or the law can help us do. What does it do to you after you do that, or why should you do it is what I'm going to talk about. And and this is how we see equality. It's got no limitation, everybody's the same. It's just that they're very different, that's about it. So it enables us to have diverse perspectives. In fact, when I say diverse perspectives or talent or innovation over here, persons with disabilities, in fact, I have had the rich experience of working with them, very privileged that way. I realized that they are very innate problem solvers. They've always, overcome challenges, and they have had a brilliant coping mechanism, regardless of where they have, been put or what situation they have been under. And that is a brilliant trait. And that is something that organizations need to leverage and need to recognize and see how they can build on this wonderful skill. And of course, people coming from that mindset will also be able to give ideas and maybe perspectives that we, as people who have been conditioned in a certain way, might not have. So that's a important, I would say, a differentiator here. And of course, talent pool expansion is something that comes with all diverse identity groups. For example, I can give two examples that comes to my mind immediately. One is people from the autism spectrum. They are amazing at pattern recognition. They are amazing at following SOP or protocol-driven jobs, which are very, very important in a shop floor level. And in fact, there was one organization which had hired them, and which hired with probably say 5% of them in their workforce, and now they've expanded to 30% because they saw the productivity going up by 25%. Because their only job was to ensure that they need to maintain protocol. And persons with autism spectrum, if any of you have dealt with, you know that they need unifocus. Else they cannot deal with the dynamism of the environment. And similarly, people who are, I would say, persons with visual impairment, they are really good storytellers. So people from the visually impaired community, they often find jobs in voice processing units, voice processing, profiles. And for example, customer care is something that they have aced their game so far, where they're so empathetic towards their customer. They understand their customers. They engage really well. It kind of leads to a long-term stickiness and loyalty to the brand, very subconsciously. And then we have employee loyalty. Oh, this is talked enough many times. When people from the marginalized community come into the workforce, it is so emotionally, I would say, close to them that, they ensure that they put their heart and soul into it. And most importantly, they treat their organization as to not just that the organization gives them the sense of belongingness, but they ensure that they feel very belong to the organization. It's a very two-way thing over there. And we have improved work culture. This is something that I would always talk about because I know we are short on time, but yeah, just 1 minute, I'm almost done. Yeah. So improved work culture is when, say for example, an organization which is willing to empathize with its employees will have, employees empathizing with the customers. And so, which means customers will be at the core of the business. So, it's because it's important for the long term of the organization to have customer centricity as its, key value, right? So this kind of also enables that thought process. And that's something that we have noticed in our work as well, where, people become more, I would say empathetic overall, as a culture. And then innovation and accessibility. This is something that everybody should take a look at, especially product-driven companies, because you're opening out not just your workforce for persons with disabilities, you're opening up a market for persons with disabilities to access your product. So because when you have a person with disability in your R&D or in your enterprise, you will start understanding what are the hygiene checks that you need to do, what are the basic accessibility that you need to take care of. And if your product can be something that can be made accessible to the persons with disabilities, that's a large population that nobody has still penetrated in a big way or tapped into. So it gives a great opportunity from a economic standpoint also, apart from covering the social angle to it. So I think that's about it. And thank you so much for the wonderful opportunity, and lovely hearing the leaders who spoke before us, and Rashi who spoke about women at workplace. Thank you so much for the opportunity, Ratna and Vividhataa. Love being here. Thanks.